everybody. Welcome to our town hall on ACEs. We normally have a lot more people at a town hall, and this is such an important topic. But we did have this topic in Holland, and we have talked about it at an Inspire event, and we did show the movie Resilience, and I'm so glad you're here tonight. I always find the nice thing is when you have fewer people, you can go deeper. So I'm really excited that you're here. We get to talk about something so important. I'm Barbara Lee Van Corson. I'm the experimenter at Extended Grace, which is a grassroots movement to create a stigma-free community. The first town hall meeting happened in January 2017, and after that the Mental Illness Task Force was formed. So I always like to give an update on what the task force has done. It started the Momentum Center, which now has expanded the teen program to include preteens. So 11 and 12-year-olds now can be part of the Momentum Teen program. We've done a number of community trainings, hosted community trainings in QPR and mental health first aid. We have started support groups, including the family support group, a support group for survivors of loved ones who have died because of addiction, whether that was accidental or suicide or just medical complications. We also started a parent support group, and after a while we stopped getting participation in that, so we have put it on hold. But if there's a desire and a need for that, we'll start it back up. So I like to throw that out in case people want to request that. And then the town hall meetings. We were actually asked to bring this model of conversation to other parts of the county as part of the Community Health Improvement Plan, which is why in April we had our first town hall meeting in Holland, and that was about ACEs. And then the next thing that Mental Illness Task Force is working on is a walk. It was going to be a walk to raise awareness about mental illness. We're now taking over the Salmon Run, which didn't take place last year as part of Salmon Fest. We will be taking that over, and it's the Salmon Run to erase stigma now. So that's pretty exciting. And then the next thing also in the pipeline is we just got word that we got a grant approved by the Youth Advisory Council, which will allow us to do a mental illness cultural awareness event at for the middle school and high school students and their parents this fall, which will involve Fable the Poet, a spoken word poet out of Grand Rapids who's amazing, talks about mental illness. He's an African-American poet. And then the movie Angst, which is about teenage anxiety. So a real good opportunity coming up. And I tell you all of that in case you want to get involved in any of that planning. Our agenda for tonight, once I get done with welcome and introductions, is we'll hear from our panelists, who I'm going to introduce in just a moment. Then we'll have an opportunity for questions and answers. And then our panelists are going to join you at the tables so that we can have some small group discussion and some large group community conversation and talk about our next steps. So we have a great set of panelists tonight. Lee Moordyke is from Arbor Circle and SCAN, which is Stop Child Abuse and Neglect. She'll be introducing ACEs, talking about the roots and kind of the bare bones information. So help me welcome Lee. We have Jody Spicer here. She's a master ACEs trainer with the Michigan Department of Human Services. She'll be telling us about how the state is responding to the ACEs research. Welcome, Jody. We have Dr. Angela May here from North Ottawa Community Hospital to talk to us about physician responses to ACE data. And also Dr. Donna Lowry from the Ready for School program, also talking about physician use, pediatric use of ACE data. Welcome, Doctor. Ria Nibor is here from Pine Rest, talking about treatment modalities and coping skills for individuals. Ria. And Ann Hurd is here from the Community Mental Health program. She is a program supervisor for CMH, and she's going to help us wrap things up and focus on resiliency. So welcome, Ann. I also need to give a shout out to our sponsors tonight, Ottawa County, North Ottawa Community Health System, Grand Haven Area Public Schools, and the City of Grand Haven, including the Grand Haven Human Relations Commission. So thanks to our sponsors. And our refreshment sponsors tonight are the Rendezvous Restaurant, and Aldea Coffee. So lots of good yummies back there. Help yourself through the night. There's coffee, decaf and regular, and then a whole host of treats. So yummy stuff. Visit Rendezvous and Aldea and thank them for their donations. So we are here tonight to learn about ACEs, Adverse Childhood Experiences. My own personal ACEs score is 4, and I'm not alone. 53% of people living in Ottawa County have at least one adverse childhood experience, and 15% have experienced 4 or more. So that puts me, and those like me, at a greater risk for health problems, both mental and physical. But it doesn't mean that I will definitely have mental and physical health problems. Along the way, I managed to build up quite a bit of resiliency, which puts me in a pretty healthy state today. So what are ACEs? What do they mean? How can we counteract their impact? And how do we reduce them in our community? Those are the answers that we're going to be turning to our panelists to answer. They'll each have 10 minutes. Some of them have slides, and some will be just speaking. And I'm going to start with Lee Mordyke from Arbor Circle and STAM.
Like Barbara said, my name is Lee Mordyke. I am the Community Youth Development Program Manager for Arbor Circle and also the facilitator for the Stop Child Abuse and Neglect Council. So when we look at the adverse childhood experiences, these are 10 items that have been found to really be predictors of long-term health outcomes. There are really 10 things that when children experience them, they create trauma and toxic stress. What we know is that there are way more things in this world that cause us all trauma, but these, from the original study that was released in 1999, these are the 10 things that the study found to have that predictive factor for long-term health outcomes. As the facilitator of the Stop Child Abuse and Neglect Council, this is really important information for our work because 5 out of the 10 have to do with child abuse and neglect. So it's physical, emotional, sexual abuse, physical and emotional neglect. It's also household mental illness, so someone in a child's family experiencing mental illness, domestic violence, divorce, having an incarcerated relative, and substance abuse. So these are, the original study was done in California, and this is what that study found were those 10 adverse childhood experiences. The interesting thing about the adverse childhood experiences is that it really has a dose response. And so what that means is that the impact of the ACEs increases as your number of adverse childhood experiences increases. So when we look at the adverse childhood experiences, we really look at what is the number of ACEs that really creates that tipping point of impact, and it is really 4 or more. And so we look at what percentage of our population has 4 or more adverse childhood experiences. The other thing that we have found is that more than half of the participants, so when we do the ACE studies, more than half of the participants have at least one adverse childhood experience. And this has been really consistent since that first study in 1995. We also know that if there's one category of ACE present, there's an 84% likelihood of additional categories being present. So we really find that they cluster together. And this really shows that that dose impact, that the impact of the adverse childhood experiences increases the more adverse childhood experiences a child experiences. And so what happens is that when someone has adverse childhood experiences, they're really living in a world where they're experiencing trauma and toxic stress. So we all have stress every day, right? Like I get up here and I present, and it might make me a little nervous, and I'm done presenting, and then I go sit back down and I'm okay. That's good stress. That's the stress that kind of, it makes us rise up to meet the challenge. Toxic stress is really this unpredictable stress. It doesn't go away. It stays. Children experiencing adverse childhood experiences don't know that going home is a safe place. They don't know maybe that they can count on their caregivers. And this changes what is happening in their brain and changes how their brain is developing. And so when we talk about every time we do the ACE study, we see that more than half of the participants have at least one ACE. So then we look at what does Ottawa County look like. And so really Ottawa County did their adverse childhood experiences study in 2017. And really this is what we found. So the dark blue, this line, the top line, is Ottawa County. The light blue is Michigan, and the green is the United States. And Ottawa County is a little bit lower, or pretty even with the state and with our nation, except for families experiencing household mental illness and an incarcerated household member. We actually are a little bit higher in those. And so when we look at this, we look at, okay, if this is what Ottawa County data says, how does that break down? How does that compare? And what we know is that the first ACE study was conducted with 17,000 adults participating in an HMO. And so it represents all of us across the community, all of us across the sector. And they really help us understand what our community is going through. And we also know that they can be prevented and they can be mitigated. And so that's what my co-panelists are going to talk about tonight. So we saw this breakdown of Ottawa County residents that have 4 or more ACEs in each category. But then this kind of looks at it kind of across, like the different ACE categories. So the green bar is 0 ACEs, the blue bar is 1 to 3 ACEs, and the red is 4 or more. And you can see in these circles that the red for Ottawa County, for Michigan, for the United States, it's pretty equal. It's roughly 14 to 16%, right? But Ottawa County is really blessed in that our green bar is larger. And so one of the